The next year, Paik moves his base to the U.S., along with his colleagues in Fluxus. New York City, a rising center of artistic freedom, was a place he could set out on his challenge.
June Paik first came to America in 1964. Paik was perhaps the first artist to understand the artistic revolutionary potential of commercial videotape when it came available in the late 1960s.
After his father's support was cut off, he found a place in Soho, a street where poor artists lived, with the help of his friends. He went through some difficult times in his early days in the U.S. However, he had his wife and fellow artist Shigeko by his side. The next year, Paik moves his base to the U.S., along with his colleagues in Fluxus. Paik continued his work with TVs in this studio. The editor and video equipment that he had used still remains. He continued to study the TV without rest to make his TV art a success, although it never gained recognition in Germany.
He was in a hurry, but he think faster than anybody else and talk than he's thinking. His talking can follow his thinking. His thinking was faster.
Finally, Paik held another exhibition in New York using experimental TVs with distorted images. Were the New York critics more receptive to the exhibition?
Und die Galerie Bonino hat ihm 3 Ausstellungen gegeben, auch mit Katalogen. Er hat nie was verkauft. Und ich habe ihm gesagt, du wirst nichts verkaufen, aber du wirst die beste Kritik kriegen.
June Paik was not disappointed. Instead of stopping at distorting the TV screens, he now went out into the streets carrying a video camera. He became the first artist to create video images. The first video editing machine that can freely edit various colors and shapes of images. He developed the video synthesizer. The video Global Groove, which was created with this equipment 40 years ago, still looks comparable to music videos from these days. He had a secret method which enabled him to continue to create new art.
Vertical thing break down, it becomes like that. And you call it pyramid, yeah? And I brought actually this, the TV set to gallery, and it got broken and only on this shape. It was not interesting. I said, oh, I would not show. Then I said, oh, maybe I turn around here, like that. And then I put title Zen for TV, you know?
So he didn't want conventional things. He was pushing everybody to try things and experiment and break up the frame and do things with the machines that you wouldn't normally do. And what happens if you put both of those buttons on, kind of thing.
The violin that can produce beautiful melodies becomes a pet that you can take walks on to June Paik. It seems he tried to communicate with his entire body. How about doing something different, was his question to us. No one could comprehend his art. However, as time went by, colleagues in art who supported him gathered around him. And one by one, people who applauded his art increased among the audience.
Ja, das muss Applaus.
The life that the 1950s and 60s revolved around was projected through the broadcast TV screen. This, in itself, a medium, became a fascination for Namjoon, who was trained in philosophy, and he adapted technology as a medium, as something that had materiality. Another aspect of his genius, using video art, which he basically dubbed that term, was an approach to meaning. He was coming from an era, recent era of art, where a painting depicted reality. It hung on a gallery wall as something eternal and fixed. Namjoon realized that the new age was all about change and flux and motion.
In 1971, Paik and Charlotte Moorman made TV Cello, a cello formed out of 3 television sets stacked up on top of each other. When she moved the strings, it distorted the images of her on the screens.
He could already see how the world was going to be completely connected through media. Electronic Superhighway is also the name of an extraordinary multimedia installation that is now permanently installed in the Smithsonian Institution of American Art in Washington, D.C. It is a rambunctious conglomeration evoking the cityscape of contemporary America. This inside-out revelation was a kind of shrine of Namjoon's to our own self-constructed myth that we were living through television.
Electronic Superhighway is one of the most popular and iconic works at our museum. So this one, which has the map of the United States, he rightly thought could have a very important place at the American Art Museum. And so it was actually a gift by the artist to the museum. It's monumental. It's massive. It includes 336 television sets, and when it was first installed, 50 DVD players, though we now use media players, 3,750 feet of cable, and about 575 feet of multicolored neon tubing. So that's a lot going on, but what it comes together to be is just this really exuberant, brightly lit picture of America as seen through television. What you see on the monitors that are inside the borders of any given state are basically what June Paik associated with that state. He places a camera that is a closed-circuit TV camera that loops back to play on a monitor there. So wherever you are standing, you are inside the map in the proper geographic location. And this creates a form of interactivity that can be really playful. When you first step into the gallery space with this work, it can be really overwhelming. All these screens, they all are moving, they're changing. The edits are really fast. You know, one of the analogies is that they're sort of fast, like speeding along a highway. But there's also a lot happening in the audio space. So where you have the movie musicals in particular, you might hear a bit of a show tune come up when it gets loud. So those are kind of background noises. And then there's also this segment that's the Montgomery bus boycott documentary. And that has sections with Martin Luther King and Malcolm X speaking. And that, interestingly, the artist noted should be the most audible soundtrack. I think that really interestingly intersects with the idea of the open road And this idea of the highway as a space that, very often this piece is seen as sort of a glittering invitation to the kind of 50s idealized open road. And the fact that the artist wanted that audio to be legible no matter where you were standing really means that the visuals are always inflected by this questioning of sort of who can get on the road safely, who will get equal treatment on that road. And those are questions that stay really resonant and important to this day, unfortunately. One of the things I'm always struck by in looking at June Paik's work is there's this first engagement that can be really self-evident. You think, oh, it's a big map of America made of TVs, I get it. But if you spend time with it and you let all of these layers unpack, you really come to recognize both his brilliance, how far ahead he's looking, but also the complexity that he's willing to sit with. He doesn't need to give you answers, doesn't need to say that this is good or bad, but that you should be thinking about these things and you should be attentive to them and aware that they're going to be part of how we shape our world, how we understand ourselves. And that doesn't go away. It just gets richer over time.
He kind of predicted today's technology. When he said, for example, that someday the TV guide would be 10 times thicker than the New York City telephone directory. But he was wrong. It's not 10 times, it's 1 million times, because you have YouTube, where everybody is a TV station. He said everybody will have a TV station. He said every artist will have their own TV station.
In the 30 years after he had his first solo show, he received the Golden Lion Award at the Venice Biennale, the world's greatest art festival. He also received the Kyoto Award in 1998 for his decisive contribution in combining modern art with video. Do you remember the work he created as he was preparing for the end of his life? The days of his youth when he broke every mold of art and pioneered a new world of art uniquely his own. Perhaps he wanted to relive those days. 50 years have passed since his first exhibition in 1963. And that exhibition is now reenacted all over the world and regarded as an innovative exhibition. Not even June Paik could have imagined that his absurd attempt to select TV as a new medium to show music would change the flow of art history and create a new art genre called video art.
By destroying the TV set, by dragging the violin, by breaking the piano, by playing opera out of a robot on the street, on Canal Street, June broke the mold. And the other thing that he said that was very wise, people don't understand, is if you want to win the race, you have to run alone. And what he meant by that is, don't be like everybody else.